times better.
This is Rick Heyman from Sartor Heyman Jewelers, inviting you to our new outlet jewelry store at 12th and O in downtown Lincoln. Amazingly, we still have fabulous items we bought 1 year ago and beyond. Well, you know what an outlet store is. Unbeatable prices throughout the store. Closeouts up to 70% off. Don't delay. When it's gone, it's gone. You won't see everything on our website, so you gotta come in. The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Opening November 25th in Lincoln at 12th and O.
Electrical Enterprises in Roca reminds you, the men and women of our military dedicate themselves to serving our country. Their commitment and courage keep our country safe and strong. We appreciate their bravery. Let us honor those who've lost their lives in the line of duty and salute those serving today. From Electrical Enterprises in Roca, for your residential and commercial electrical construction needs, call 402-438-5822. Wishing you and yours a happy and healthy new year.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Erick Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Welcome to it on a snowy Monday here in the capital city. I'm Austin Norman, joined remotely by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Erick Strickland, back home safe and sound. Stricky, how are you, my friend? Are you staying warm? How was your weekend?
Everything was good on the weekend, man. The snow came out of nowhere and hit us upside the head. It was out a little bit early, and then all of a sudden it just started streaming down. So, yeah, man, decided to make sure just do it at home today and excited about the show.
Amen. Should be a good one on tap. Like we said at the end of the happy hour there, with our little crossover, we'll dive into some Husker basketball here in just a sec. We'll get into the national championship game. Big one tonight for the Big Ten. Is it the old Big Ten and Michigan? Is it the new Big Ten and Washington? How does that one shake out? What are some of those matchups to watch? We'll get into that. Give us your winner on the text line, 402-464-5685. Or if you're watching on stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, give us, again, your thoughts for who wins the national championship game tonight. We'll take kind of a general pulse of the show and see what people are thinking in our next segment. And then probably once more before we leave. We'll get into a big Husker weekend. Obviously, Husker football gains a couple of recruits. You also see Nash Hutmacher make his return to the wrestling mat, and Husker football in discussions with a pretty big name coach. What would that mean for the team in the season to come? And even for the future, what would it hold? So that's all on tap. Again, any thoughts you have, let us know on our Sartor Heyman text line or the Sartor Heyman Jewelers video streams. They have their comment section. Strick, let's start off with Husker basketball. They go on the road to Wisconsin, a top 25 team ranked 20th at the time, 88-72, Wisconsin takes down Nebraska at the Kohl Center, continuing a really hot stretch for Wisconsin. But what stood out about this game, Strick, was I don't think Nebraska played that poorly. Definitely not their best game of the year, especially offensively, right? 72 points on 49% shooting. It hit almost half your threes, efficient at the free throw line. But early turnovers and early offensive rebounds got the Huskers in a hole they just couldn't climb back out of.
I mean, yeah, that's what it comes down to. Like you said, there's nothing in this game that would have told you if Nebraska had played this way that they would have lost by double digits. It's just not the case. I don't think they played as bad as what people would think. 12 turnovers in a normal game situation is not a bad night. You shoot the ball extremely well. I mean, for the most part, it was over 50%, especially in the first half. And then you're looking at the second half, just down a slight, but at 44% and ended up just under 50%. And you shoot probably one of the best on the road, one of the best games that you've had all season. And that's shooting over 45% from 3-point line. So it's just one of those things where you ran into a buzzsaw. You ran into a juggernaut, a team that's playing extremely well. A team that, got after it. They got very hot. Essegian comes in right off the bench and hits like 4 3-pointers. Chucky Hepburn probably hasn't played this well consistently overall in an offensive and a defensive game. The way Chucky played in this game, he was absolutely phenomenal. He gave fits, though, to Jamarcus Lawrence. I mean, he didn't even really want to handle the ball, and that's one of the things that Chucky's capable of doing. And Sam Hoiberg was one of the same things, but this time they just played extremely well, and you can't be upset about it. I'm not. We figured just go on the road, give it your best shot, and see what happens. And you just happen to run into a team that's extremely hot.
Right. One of the better games Wisconsin's played recently. They're always tough at home, right? They beat Marquette there about a month ago. So you knew it was going to be a tough challenge on the road. The 16 points, I think, of the final margin streak seems a little deceiving, right? Wisconsin got up big. Nebraska was able to keep it there. It never really snowballed on Nebraska, but there were a couple times Nebraska had a chance to get it back to single digits, they got it back to 11 once or twice, just get a bucket, get a stop. They just weren't quite able to put any of that game pressure on Wisconsin ever, really. And I think that's, for two reasons. Number one, you mentioned the play of Chucky Hepburn, his first time in double figures since like November 27th. It'd been a month and a half for the young man. Maybe he saw the Nebraska end, got him motivated. I think he's healthier than he has been in a while, which obviously goes a long way. But Wisconsin got contributions up and down the roster. If you look at how they scored it, you see Crowell and Klesmet, the only guys not in double figures for the starters. 17 from Wall. He was cooking a little bit on rink mass. You see AJ Storr at kind of that wing guard position, had a few nice moments. Hepburn did his thing. And then off the bench, it was John Blackwell coming in, shooting 5 from 8. Freshman.
Not really that known for scoring like that, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
And then it's Essegian, right? A guy that played a role last year, has found himself, kind of buried on the bench, played 2 minutes in their last game. He comes out, fire on all cylinders right away. Is there anything Nebraska could have done to switch up the rhythm defensively, or was this just a buzzsaw Nebraska tried, it just didn't work?
I mean, it's just one of those things, man, where you can't trade buckets with teams like that. When a team like that is just going, you can't trade buckets, and then you can't give up extra possessions. We saw that yesterday, that was the case. When you look at this team as well, they're scoring in the paint. I mean, that's what Nebraska did in one of their last games against Indiana. Just scored magnificently in the paint. 36 points in the paint. I mean, that's just tough to overcome. You get 36 points in the paint, 36 points from your bench. I mean, it's just one of those things. And if I listen to Steve Dean on the YouTube stream, I think he might, seem to have an idea about it as well. Where he says, I agree with Stricky. Nebraska fell behind early, couldn't catch up, and was basically playing behind the whole second. It's just tough. And that's what I'm talking about. You can't continue to exchange buckets with them. And that's what it seemed to be. And then whenever they made a run, got a couple stops, got a couple good buckets, and it was just like, boom, Wisconsin would come back and they would land a good 3, a Essegian, or a corner 3 from Blackwell. And he was like, dang, what can you do? Chucky making great plays. That play when Chucky got into the paint, made 2 great plays I saw. one where he got into the paint and he literally faked the boots out of Josiah Alec and laid one up with the right. That was beautiful in itself. And then the split, the split and dropped in there and got a nice bucket with the lay with the right hand finger roll as well. I mean, they just were on the attack and they continued to do so all game.
Credit Wisconsin, who remains at the top of the Big Ten standings. They're 3-0 in conference play right now. Nebraska falls back to the middle of the pack at 2-2. You mentioned that Indiana team, Strick, that Nebraska beat. They beat Ohio State over the weekend. Good bounce back for the Hoosiers. You see Minnesota move to 3-1. They beat Maryland over the weekend as well. It's going to be worth doing a dive into the Big Ten standings here probably by the end of the week. We'll see how Nebraska and Purdue goes. And that's the next game on tap. It'll be tomorrow, Strick. Fred Hoiberg had his pre-Purdue media availability, said the Boilermakers are already in town, so no issues. Tomorrow's game looks like it's on a scheduled. Strick, when I look at this matchup a little bit, I'm sure we talk about it tomorrow. You start with Zach Edey, right? But we've seen Nebraska scheme Purdue bigs out of games before, whether it was Isaac Haas or who's the one, Matt Harms, guys like that, right? Nebraska's been able to play those guys okay, but to me, it's going to come down to those second and third rotations from the guards defensively, right? Purdue's guards, I don't love. You and I have talked about how turnover prone they can be and how streaky they are, but you have to make them streaky, right? You can't give them open shots because they're good enough that if you're not rotating and you're giving them clean looks, Purdue's going to do the same thing Wisconsin did.
Listen, man, this happens at home, but it can happen in any situation. When you give freedom of movement, when you give wide open looks, and when you don't put pressure to them, like what I mean by pressure, when games are tight, then pressure mounts. Mm-hmm. When you allow a team to get some distance between you or get some leads, you don't want them to get that because it's a lot different playing with that type of freedom to be able to just kind of move with ease and you come off screens a little bit smoother. But when games are tight, that's when your shots become a little bit tighter. And so I don't trust their players in big time situations when the game's not tight to come up big for them. So that's what you want to do to Purdue. Now on the other side, I like what they did with Stephen Krause. Stephen Krause is a big body. They did a little bit better with him than they did with some of the earlier bigs, especially at Creighton. But this game they actually played me, even though he was 4 for 5. They did a good job of making him make the next pass in the next play. Where they messed up is some of their rotations weren't crisp and they were finding guys and they were letting those passes happen. And also some of their rotations, they could have moved a little bit quicker. They stayed maybe a little bit a time too long and they weren't able to get back. And so that's where some of the problems came for them. That's what they're going to have to clean up because I'm telling you, I think, again, mark my words, and I'm hoping they're listening. If I'm them, I would have been scheming on dribble for Zach Edey. The minute Zach Edey puts the ball down, I'm coming with a hard double team. And like last night, they were kind of in a limbo zone. They weren't all the way there on body to body, making that pass tougher. They were kind of just a little bit there, not there. And I think that's what hurt them a little bit in some of their rotations.
Let's look back at last year's game here real quick. Only 2 guys in double figures for Purdue. The first was Fletcher Lawyer, who's still on the team. Yeah, he was 9 of 21 from the floor, 2 of 10 from 3, but still led Purdue with 22 points. They did an okay job on Edey offensively. He was 5 of 7 and only 1 of 4 at the free throw line, but did corral 17 rebounds, 7 of them on the offensive end. Nebraska trailed by 10 at half. It was 34-24. They won the second half, 32-22. And of course, Rick, we think back to the end of last year's game, looked like CJ Wilcher was fouled. They don't call it. It's a turnover. Nebraska doesn't go to the free throw line with a chance to win the game. It goes into overtime. The Boilermakers win it by just a possession. I don't want to say this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure one of the guys who officiated that game was Courtney Green, who officiated the Nebraska game against Wisconsin this weekend. And that I think it was that Purdue game that kind of kicked off a string of mini controversies for him last season. But Nebraska gets another crack at a top 5 team, a number top 5, Purdue at home. But Bryce Williams is questionable. We heard Fred Hoiberg say that in his availability today. It looked like an ankle issue, a right ankle issue came down on one of his big man's, legs or ankles. Big man made it out fine. Bryce Williams looked like he got the most of that exchange. let's say Bryce Williams can't go tomorrow. Is that as simple as slide CJ Wilcher in? Is it Eli Rice? Is it Sam Hoiberg? What direction do you go if Bryce Williams is sidelined?
If it was my decision, to make, I keep CJ Wilcher in coming off the bench because he's found a nice niche, a nice rhythm, his mental is right in that space. I keep him there, and I probably move Eli Rice in. The reason is I want to get him going a little bit early. I want him to get his juices fired up. I want his mind to be intent on what needs to be done and focused on the game plan. And he's a big body. Like CJ Wilcher's footwork, I would give more deference to Eli Rice as far as his abilities to cover. But I like Eli Rice's athleticism. I like his size. I like his stroke. He showed he's very capable. Hit a nice corner three in the game. Didn't get many opportunities, but I like to be presenting him with more opportunities early and keep CJ Wilcher into that nice rhythm that he is in his mindset of coming off the bench.
You look at Purdue, Strick. I mean, you have the gigantic Zach Edey at 7'4". Outside of him, Purdue's really not all that big in the rest of their rotation. They'll play Caleb First a little bit, but he's taken a bit of a backseat. You see Trey Kaufman-Wren scoring 8 points a game with 4 rebounds. But other than that, they really only have 2 wings that they play all that much. That's where I think Juwan Gary and Eli Rice could be good matchups. It might be X factors for Nebraska tomorrow.
No question. I think so too. And I think, look, I know that Nebraska loves to run their, DHO, their dribble handoff, their weave sets and all of that stuff. I'm running stuff to either create mismatch switches with Zach Edey onto Juwan Gary or Eli Rice or something like that, and going downhill on attack against him, man on man. Or I'm running sets with some pick and pop action to make them to make a decision on what they're going to do. Are we going to switch it? Are we going to high blitz it? Are we going to, just kind of allow him to come off and just let him shield a little bit and cover? I don't know, but I'm saying I want to do this because I want to run specific sets that sets Edey up to have to make a decision. Either I'm going to come out here or I'm going to take these eyeball sandwiches, and hopefully Rink Mass has a big night.
Right. Rink Mass was 6 of
14. Or Juwan.
Right. Mass was 6 of 14 against Wisconsin. Juwan Gary didn't have his best game, but again, great opportunity coming back home to make a statement, right? This would be a huge win for Nebraska, by far their best win of the year if they're able to get it done. And we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. We should also mention the Husker women kind of had a similar game to what the men did against Indiana. The Hoosiers come to Lincoln, the number 14 Hoosiers, that is, and they win it by 22 points, 91-69 on Jordan Hooper's jersey number retirement. Really cool honor for the Nebraska native to have that done. And just a similar thing for the women's, Strick, right? The percentages shooting were pretty good. You got some good offensive performances, but ultimately you just couldn't get a stop on the other end. Indiana started hot on the women's side like the Wisconsin men did, and Nebraska could never really just rope the Hoosiers in after that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and they caught a buzzsaw, and you hate to have those type of situations. As I'm looking forward to having Coach Danny Nee come in town in a few weeks, actually in about a week and a half. I'm looking forward to him and some of our fellow teammates coming in town and being able to share that time of the Big 8 championship that we were able to win. And I'm hoping that the Huskers just play a wonderful game, man. It's just it would just feel so much better to be able to embrace my brothers and maybe go have a brew or a glass of wine with them after the game with a win on our shoulders. I hate that, that it happened to the ladies and they just weren't able to get the stops necessary to pull off a win. But you hope in big games like that, in big situations where the fans are coming out for a specific reason, that you're able to get a win.
Tough weekend for the Husker basketball teams, but we'll get into what went right for the Huskers in our second hour of the show. We're going to step aside. When we get back, though, we're just a few hours away from the national championship game. It's Michigan and it's Washington taking place down in Houston. We'll dive into that game, the Big Ten angles on it. Stricky's picking the lefty, Michael Penix, it looks like. I see it. We'll dive into our picks. We'll give you the matchups you need to know and watch when we get back to On the Block.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh, yeah. This is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better. Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career, or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solution. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Is your furnace or heat pump ready for winter? Call Bryant to schedule your home heating check. Comfortable, safe, efficient. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill. Open for lunch and dinner at 10th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road.
Nutrition Authority presents Activator. University studies have shown that Activator helps with building muscle and strength while decreasing body fat. Activator is for male and females of all ages who want to look, feel, and perform their best. Activator can only be found in Nutrition Authority. Stop in, call, or visit us at mynutritionauthority.com.
WWE Friday Night SmackDown returns to Lincoln. January 12th, 6:45 p.m. Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Let's throw down right now.
See Rey Mysterio, LA Knight, Bobby Lashley, The Street Profits, Charlotte Flair, Io Sky, Carlito, and more. It's WWE's Friday Night SmackDown in Lincoln, January 12th. Tickets start at $25 and on sale now. Ticketmaster. Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back, Austin Norman and Erick Strickland with you 2 to 4 weekdays here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Today would be a perfect day for Mary Ellen's. Unfortunately, they are closed. You can catch them again on Wednesday. through the weekend. Strick, let's dive into tonight's national championship game. Lots to digest, almost as much as a good plate of Mary Ellen's food for the soul. Michigan and Washington. Neither of these two teams have won a title since the 90s. For Washington, it was 91. For Michigan, it was a sham title in 1997 that I suppose they get credit for. But again, both of these teams searching to get their way, back to the mountaintop. Let's just start with the Big Ten angle here, Strick, right? It was a long process for the Big Ten to convince Washington and Oregon to join the conference, even after you get the additions of USC and UCLA. Washington and Oregon weren't sure they wanted to make that jump. What do you think this says about Commissioner Petitti and his job, and how proud he should be of the work that the Big Ten put in to get a national championship contender into the conference starting next year?
Listen, just to me, what they've accomplished is so forward thinking that they were so ahead of the ball. And we've talked about this briefly of how the SEC has totally locked in that southeastern sector, wanted to extend the borders a little bit just over into Texas to give you that large swath of talent pool to accompany that southern, because a lot of the 5 stars, let's just be honest about it, a lot of the 5 stars come from everywhere. So I'm not saying they're only there, but a lot of them, a large portion of them comes out of that Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, Texas, maybe a little bit in South Carolina, not as much, Tennessee, some, you know what I mean? But a lot of it kind of comes out of that area. They wanted to extend it over and take over into Texas. I think understanding that super conferences were on the way, what better way could we do it by taking over the whole country from northwest all the way to the south, all the way across the middle sector, dang near, starting over it from Nebraska and up and over, and then all the way out to the Rust Belt through the northern eastern sector of the United States in comparison. In doing so, you put yourself in a mind frame in NIL money to also give them a perspective of professionality, of what it's like to travel, going and seeing multiple places, having family that may want to see you play in a different region. All of those things become available to you. Forward thinking in that manner, to me, bringing in those powerhouses out of the Pac-12, making them and engrafting them into the Big Ten, I think it was smart, man. It was smart thinking, and I think they did a good job in doing so.
Let's talk about Washington first. The story was the guy that you went to break imitating, Michael Penix. The story at quarterback, of course, follows his head coach, Kalen DeBoer. At Washington, Kalen DeBoer was the offensive coordinator at Indiana, follows him out to Seattle. Penix is the story. You look at Rome Odunze, he's the story. Polk, McMillan are great. To me, a big story, though, is the availability of Dylan Johnson. Kind of what happened with the Colts and Jonathan Taylor being in and out of the lineup against Houston. You see Dylan Johnson go down at the end of the Texas game. Instead of Washington kneeling the clock out, they try to super ice that game by getting a first down, making sure there's nothing Texas can do. Dylan Johnson has said he's playing. It's a bit of a heel injury. He's kind of day-to-day. His availability is a big story to me. But Strick, the bigger story is the defense, right? Texas shredded that Washington defense on the ground. Michigan, known for its running game, not known for its big plays, but Michigan will try to beat Washington into submission, which is where, as good as Penix and that receiving core can be, the bigger story to me, Strick, is how many turnovers can that Washington defense force?
So here's the thing. I think they're gonna force JJ McCarthy to throw the ball. I think they're gonna throw as many people in that box and just say, "I don't believe you." I mean, I think that's the best chance that they've got, because if they leave any space in any room, because I do believe that they left some open holes out of Texas because they were probably more worried about yours and Worthy and those guys getting big plays, that they were willing to give up the run game a little bit in order to, say, hey, we think we got a good enough defensive line and our linebackers and our safeties can come up and help out. to give us enough to win. We just don't want big plays out of yours in the wide receiver core. So I really think they're going to flood the box, and they're going to basically say no to Edwards, no to Corum. Hey, if you can beat us here, you're gonna have to beat us because we believe our guys can beat you. And if I'm them, that's the route that I take. I think you're looking at Odunze and all those guys. The receiving core that they have, I just think they believe that they have a better group than you, and they're going to ultimately win in a shootout if it's going to come to a shootout. But we're not going to let you beat us with Corum. We're not going to let you beat us with Edwards, and we recognize that that's probably one of our weakest areas.
I got to shout out Bill Connolly again for this. Both of these quarterbacks have been clutch. Penix's numbers, though, are absolutely ridiculous. So in the win probability for Washington has been under 50% this season. Penix has completed 72% of his passes for 15.4 yards per completion, almost half of those completions for first downs, and a quarterback rating of 96. In crunch time, Strick, think players, not plays, as DP always says. Michael Penix is thinking Rome Odunze. Again, with a win probability under 50%, Penix to Odunze, 19 of 21 through the air for 333 yards. If Washington needs a big play, they're going to dial up a big play between its number one receiver and its Heisman caliber quarterback.
And they know you're waiting on it. So they're not going to go to it early. They're not going to go to it when you expect it. They're going to scheme it up. So they're going to basically take their time. They're going to allow things to happen. They're going to use some of their other receivers, sprinkle in the tight end, throw a few things out there, hit Odunze on a couple of opportunities when they present themselves. But they're going to watch you. They're going to see what you're doing, and they're going to scheme you up. And when it's needed for a couple of them, I think they'll have 2 to 3 of them that are ready for you. And then they're going to dial it up when they really, really, really need it.
I mentioned some of those comparisons I was making before in our crossover. Washington, in terms of where it ranks offensively and defensively, compares very favorably to the 2010 Auburn team that won the title with Cam Newton. It's going to take, I think, a Newton-esque performance from Penix, probably more with his arms than with his legs, to give Oregon a shot. But even the defense, Strick, the lowest rated defense to win a title in this entire century is that Oklahoma team that won it under Bob Stoops. They were ranked like 27th or 30th in that range. Right now, Washington's 44th. Number 4 offense, number 44 defense. You don't like that imbalance, right? It's a fine, solid, above average defense. But then you flip to Michigan, where the closest analog in terms of recent championship caliber teams for Michigan is that 2016 Alabama team that ended up losing to Clemson. They had the 14th ranked offense and the first ranked defense that year. This year, Michigan grades out basically exactly the same, according to SP Plus. The number 13 offense, just one spot better than Alabama, and also that number 1 defense. It's going to be the run game. It's going to be try to hit you with some yards after catch from a receiver close by or a tight end. We've seen the formula for Michigan all year. They've spent 5 years under Jim Harbaugh really building to this moment. We'll see if the explosiveness of Washington wins out, or just the pulverization from Michigan finally wears on Washington that's won 10 straight games by fewer than 10 points.
Well, the thing is, it's going to come down to this. I think also Michigan is very bullheaded. Like they don't care. They're basically saying that we're going to hit you in the first. We understand that we might not get too much out of it. We're going to bang you in the second. We think we'll start to crease you a little bit, kind of just, how like, have you ever heard of that show called The Squid Games?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So in the Squid Games, they had these little pins that they had to try to carve out on the little cookie to basically get whatever the star or the triangle out. That's kind of what Michigan is going to do to you. Like they're going to just continue to just, kind of crease away at that little point and try to get you loosened up a little bit. And then all of a sudden, they're going to hit you in the third. And then in the fourth, it's just like, hey, you've been here long enough. Do you still want this smoke? And that's what they're going to do. They're very bullheaded at it. Now, I think they're going to take shot plays. I think they're going to try to, hit you with some big opportunities. And I think if they're smart, they use Corum in the pass game a little bit. get him on some angle routes, get him on some screens, get him on a few things where, you may not be looking for him to be involved, because I think they had some success in the last game. When they played against Alabama by using Corum a little bit. I mean, it was very rare. Corum doesn't usually do too much out of the pass game, but they were able to do some stuff.
He looked really good late in that Alabama game. He's had a week off from it. Of course, J.J. McCarthy dealt with an ankle injury over the last few weeks of the season. Seems like he's back and healthy. Most of the lines right now, Strick, have Michigan favored by 4.5 points, and I thought it was going to be more. I thought the numbers really hated Washington, but there's something to be said for that kind of intangible quality of finding a way to win close games, right? That's what Washington's done. Michigan controlled a lot of games. We talked about them earlier in the year, not being overly dominant, but just really taking care of business. Washington's kind of lived life on the edge, had a lot of close games recently, and I don't know what to make of that line, right? I think Michigan should be favored. They've been ranked higher all year long. But Strick, I have a hard time quitting this Washington team. It's one thing to say Michigan needs to, shorten the game, right? Keep the ball out of Penix's hands and give them fewer opportunities. But we've seen this story in the NFL as well, right? Teams will try to play keep away from Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in their heyday. Try to play keep away from Josh Allen and the Bills, Tua and the Dolphins, name your team. Time of possession matters to an extent, but if Michigan is going to, try to hold the ball for that long, it has to score basically every drive, because Washington is such an efficient offense. They don't need much time. So you can try to play the time of possession game all you want, but Michigan not only has to hold the ball for that long, if they're going to have the ball for 35 plus minutes, they have to cash it in. Otherwise, Washington can hit you with one big play in the end zone. They'll be fine.
Yeah, there's no question. I think because they believe that the passing game is going to be something for them that to really be watching out on. I think early on, watch out for Washington in the run game. Watch out and see if they can kind of loosen things up a little bit and open up some holes and give them some opportunities to then crease them in the passing game.
We're down to it. Who's winning tonight, Michigan or Washington?
Listen, I love the Washington story. I love the Pac-10 story of how even with them going on the outs and losing the history of what the Pac-10 was. I love the story of Washington and where everybody kind of counted them out over the course of the season and was able to beat Oregon twice and then come in and beat a Texas team where everybody was still rooting for Texas. And then right now, the thing that somebody said, I think yesterday, it might have been you. I think it was you, where you said they look like the Empire and Washington looks like Return of the Jedi. I actually like that. I think that's something to look forward to. And people have said, when you have the discussion with your grandchildren, down the road, and when they're sitting down with you, when they get older and as they're young, they're having the conversation, Grandpa, what did you think about that Washington? And everybody was talking about Michigan and how they cheated and how they did all of this. And yet they were able to win a championship, or they weren't. It was because Washington stood in the way. And so that's why I'm hoping that they were able to pull it off.
I'm going with the Dogs. I've been on that train all year. I got family that used to live up there before they moved south down to Arizona. I can't quit them. Penix is so fun. Odunze is absolutely incredible. I mean, without Marvin Harrison Jr. or even Keon Coleman early in the year, I think Odunze would be getting a lot more headlines than he does. That receiving core is so deep. And I think Washington learned, right? Michigan's better than Texas, but I think Washington took some lessons from that Texas win. It's going to take some turnover luck. They're going to need to find a way, I think, to jump out early and make Michigan play from behind. But I'm going with the Dogs. Give us your pick on the text line 402-464-5685. Give us a good reason why you're picking that team to win the national championship. We'll get to that. And an interesting situation in the NFL. The Saints-Falcons game, the way it ended, left some people mad. We'll get to that. Wrap up hour one of On the Block here in just a sec.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
The Lincoln forecast for today: wintry mix and heavy snow. Traveling going to be very difficult. We'll see a high around 33. Tonight, snow, wind, and blowing snow expected. We'll see a low around 18. And tomorrow, more snow, wind, blowing snow continuing throughout the day. We'll see a high around 24. Meteorologist Kyle Klecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh, yeah. This is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
Is your furnace or heat pump ready for winter? Call Bryant to schedule your home heating check. Comfortable, safe, efficient. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Nutrition Authority presents Activator. University studies have shown that Activator helps with building muscle and strength while decreasing body fat. Activator is for male and females of all ages who want to look, feel, and perform their best. Activator can only be found in Nutrition Authority. Stop in, call, or visit us at mynutritionauthority.com.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a pre-owned combine from Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstorats.com for amazing offers, and if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Don't allow uninvited guests to take over your home. Trust Bats to Rats for a peaceful and rodent-free living space.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here on the block. Austin Orman and Erick Strickland with you again. Give us your picks for who wins the national championship game and why. We'll get to those here throughout the show. But we turn our attention, Strick, to the National Football League, and we go to the NFC South Division. This game ended up not mattering as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took care of business down in Carolina. Not a pretty game for the Bucs, but they do get into the playoffs. But both the Saints and the Falcons had the opportunity to sneak into the playoffs. If the Bucs were to lose, the winner of that game then would have gone on to the playoffs. Well, it would have been the New Orleans Saints. They win it big, 48-17, but a controversial play at the very end of the game. Tyrann Mathieu has an interception. He returns it down to the 1 yard line, stops to allow the Saints to just run the clock out. They're already up. At that point, it would have been 41-17, already up 24 points. Well, New Orleans sends the play in. Coach Dennis Allen, as offensive coordinator, just want to kneel it out, right? You've put a pretty good beat down on a division rival. All's fair, right? You're fine. You're good. Happy with your performance. Well, they call in victory formation, and then the players go rogue. A number of them, right? It's not just on Jameis Winston, who was in the game. It's all sorts of players that wanted Jamal Williams or Jimmy Graham, one of those two players, to score a touchdown. So the Saints line up in victory formation, but they hand the ball off to Jamal Williams, who walks in for a touchdown. He hadn't scored one all year after leading the Lions in touchdowns last year. And Arthur Smith, the coach of the Falcons, who was fired then just 2 minutes into today as what's known as Black Monday on the NFL, in what turned out to be the last memory of Arthur Smith, he's yelling at Dennis Allen. No post-game handshake or anything. Dennis Allen says, hey, man, I didn't call that, right? The players went rogue is how he described it. We're not about that. Top to bottom, Strick, what do you make of the decision from the Saints? Is that on Dennis Allen for not having more control of the team? Did Arthur Smith not handle it well? What do you make of a situation like this?
This is a tough one because you might not like the answer, but I've always been a guy, Austin, in everything that I do. I am a guy who is able to step outside of myself, weigh the situation, look at all perspectives. I've actually listened to Jameis, and I've heard some of the commentary and some of the conversations that were had with the media and so forth and so on. But when you look at that situation, you can understand how being upset about how it went down, because it's an unwritten rule. You see this on basketball all the time, right? If someone has a really big lead and the time is running down, you get the ball over half court. Like, you get a real big lead, you got the ball. Sometimes you don't even take a shot. You let the shot clock run out and you just kind of throw it. But then you've seen guys that have just said, bump that. I'm going to get this dunk, or I'm going to get this layup, or we're up 20 and we're going to do whatever we're going to do with the ball. So it's an unwritten rule, and it's the same in football. It's in football when you have such a huge lead that you just basically kneel and go into victory formation, let the clock run out. But I can understand them collectively as a team coming together, and Jameis Winston, after a season to them that has come to a fail, at this point, you probably come to the realization that you're not going to make it to the playoffs. You understand that Tampa Bay has done what they did. But you have guys that have worked their tail off. It would be no different than if in a basketball game, you had guys that have been sitting on the bench all this time. You got a 20-point lead. You put those guys in there to get an experience, even if it's in the last minute. I wouldn't care if they shot. You know what I'm saying? These guys have been working their butts off. They've been practicing. Maybe they didn't have the season that they had. And then you collectively come to an agreement that this is what we're going to do for our teammate to get him a little shine. He's been blocking, or he's been practicing, and he's been working hard. We're going to get him the rock. Do y'all agree? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. And a majority of the group and you as leaders say, we're going to get you the rock, my boy. So I'm not mad at Jameis and the crew that made the decision to do it, because I can understand, because I've been a player too. But then I can also understand, because I've been a coach also, from a coaching perspective, what you don't want to do is, because like the media guy says, and I don't like media talking about it, but he made a point. He says you got to face them twice. You got to play them twice. And what you don't want to leave is fodder on the table, because then you don't want them to put, guys in a bury-in mode, or the guys that are coming in next year for the players to do something to you as a team because of revenge of what you did to them last year. So so that's why I understand both perspectives, and you might not like the answer, but I can stand outside and see both points.
And that's why we appreciate your perspective as a former player, being able to step into those shoes. On the text line, 0651 says, my issue was with doing it out of victory formation. And on Twitter, Jeff Schwartz, who's pretty active, former player himself, said the issue with what the Saints did isn't trying to score at the end. Who cares? But don't line up in victory, signaling the game is over, and then run the ball. Next time Saints get into victory formation, the opposing defensive line is going to tee off.
Are going to be aggressive. Right.
The league, not just the Falcons,
Yeah.
the league won't forget this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, because that would be like, okay, you ran the ball this time, but you get in victory formation. This would shatter it. You get in victory formation and you fake the handoff and throw a pass for a touchdown. Ooh, then it's going to get real ugly, because victory is designed to just let all the players kind of with ease, boom, get off the ball. Let's go home. Everybody's safe. But them doing that, it can change the dynamic. You're absolutely right. And but I get it, but I don't get it. And I agree with what who was that said getting in victory and then running the ball?
Jeff Schwartz.
Cool. Jeff Schwartz. Yeah, I agree with Jeff on that. If you're going to do it, line up in a regular set. Yeah.
Better ways for everyone to have handled it. But again, the result ultimately doesn't really matter too much, as the Bucs end up winning that division. They're the only team from the NFC South headed to the playoffs. Let
me ask you a question.
What you got?
Sorry. Let me ask you a quick question. Did you hear what Jameis Winston had to say?
I thought I read it, but refresh my memory.
Oh, I wish you did. I don't want to ask the question if you didn't hear it, because his explanations and the way that he explained it, I wanted to see if you had a little critique on it. 402-464-5685. If you had an opportunity to listen to Jameis Winston, I would love to get your feedback on what do you think how did you think he handled the questioning from the reporters when he had a chance to do so?
This is, I'm on the ESPN article about this. This is what I see. Winston, when asked if he had any regrets, nope. This is the thing. This is about the team. It's not about regrets. It's not about anything else. It's about us as a team making a collective decision. I do apologize to Dennis, head coach Dennis Allen. That's not his call. And then what Derek Carr said as well, right? He wasn't on the field for this. He said Jamal led the Lions in touchdowns last year. He didn't have one this year. Just as players, you love your buddy so much that sometimes in this league, ain't nothing a coach can do, no matter who it is. Players sometimes want to take care of their guys, and coaches end up having to deal with the fallout, is essentially what Derek Carr said. Both of them speak to what you're saying, right? The coach didn't call it. There's not anything we can do. We're just looking out for one of our guys.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I mean, like I said, in the basketball realm, it would be no different than if we have this big old league and I'm the point guard on the floor, and a guy that literally just like back in the day, you didn't have the G League. So if you're on the end of the bench, you had a lot of DMPs, and you have an opportunity, you come in a game, I might run a set for you, man. I mean, look, and most guys wouldn't want to do that. Some guys would just want to dribble and they'll just throw the ball to the ref and, let's get another. I mean, we're up 20, so let's throw the ball to the ref. Okay, shot clock runs out. Let's go. But I might just run a set for the guy. You know what I mean? Like, hey, bro, we're going to run zipper for you. You know what I'm saying? Or we're going to run floppy. We're going to run something for you to get you a shot. I might do that. Coach might be mad, but I think coach, if he's a player's coach, he would understand too, though.
Brad from Baldwin, 3767-0651, and John and Cortland, appreciate you guys tuning in and chiming in on our Starter Heyman text line. Again, give us your picks for the national championship tonight, who you got winning and why. We'll get into some more NFL playoff discussion throughout the week, probably starting tomorrow. But let's turn the page to a great Husker weekend, right? You have Big Nash Hutmacher getting another win by pin in his return to the wrestling mats. We had Mark Manning on Old School, so definitely wherever you get your podcast, check out that conversation with Coach Manning. After the show, of course, we'll talk about Nash's win And we'll talk about a big weekend in Husker football. 2 commitments already in the bank, wide receiver and a running back. In Nebraska, in some conversations with a pretty high-profile coach to come in and be the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. We'll dive into that and plenty more in hour number 2 of On the Block.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
WWE Friday Night SmackDown returns to Lincoln. January 12th, 6:45 p.m. Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Let's throw down right now.
See Rey Mysterio, LA Knight, Bobby Lashley, The Street Profits, Charlotte Flair, Io Sky, Carlito, and more. It's WWE's Friday Night SmackDown in Lincoln, January 12th. Tickets start at $25 and on sale now. Ticketmaster.
Pump ready for winter? Call Bryant to schedule your home heating check. Comfortable, safe, efficient. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solution. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a pre-owned combine from Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Are you looking for a new spot to relax and unwind? The Post, located on the south side of the Telegraph District on the corner of 20th and N Street, is perfect for a group hangout or a relaxing evening. The Post has plenty of exciting events open to the public, like Whiskey Wednesday and poker tournaments on Sundays. Looking for a spot for a private event? Ask them about their indoor patio. The Post, located at 20th and N Street in Lincoln.
Nutrition Authority presents Activator. University studies have shown that Activator helps with building muscle and strength while decreasing body fat. Activator is for male and females of all ages who want to look, feel, and perform their best. Activator can only be found in Nutrition Authority. Stop in, call, or visit us at mynutritionauthority.com.
Not many businesses can say they've made it 60 years, but Madsen's Bowling and Billiards can. With 12 bowling lanes and the biggest pool room in Nebraska, where else would you go to enjoy an afternoon or evening? There's a great daily specials like $2 Tuesdays, games of bowling, shoe rentals, draft beers, and tacos, all just $2 each. Have a delicious burger at EJ's Lounge before or after your bowling or pool session, and you'll leave satisfied. Madsen's Bowling and Billiards at 47th and Dudley.
If you're not going to Memorial Stadium for a home game and don't have any travel plans for away games, there's a great place in Omaha to catch the action, the Inner Rail Food Hall. There's plenty of space. The Backstretch Bar has amazing game specials on game days. $15 Blue Moon and Bud Light pitchers, $6 margaritas, and $6 Moscow Mules. And if you're hungry, take in some of their great options from their game day pizza specials. Do football game day right in the Inner Rail Food Hall in Exarban Village in Omaha.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career, or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Erick Strickland.
Strickland for three. And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Welcome back to On the Block. E. Strick here and Austin Orman. It is the second hour of On the Block. We appreciate you. We're praying everybody is safe and sound here in the Nebraska area, wherever you are, whether it be Western or in the Omaha, Lincoln area. We're hoping that you guys are safe as the snow continuously falls down over the landscape. But listen, we're going to get into some Husker talk and a big Husker weekend in many fashions, many forms. We're looking at football. We've got great stuff that happened on the wrestling mat. We're going to talk a little bit about what Coach Rule is looking to do and what he's preparing to do on the quarterback and the coordinator front. We'll get into a little bit of talk of that, but we'll start first by some of the commitments that Nebraska has been able to land over the weekend. Some big ones. I think they're big ones because what it does, Austin, and we'll get into it. Shout out to Cliff Castorall and Steve Dean on the YouTube stream. We appreciate you guys and all of you guys.
Yeah,
that
Cliff
are
in sunny Florida. What the heck? I mean, I'm
yeah,
jealous.
Man. Jealous. So jealous right now. But listen, Austin, one of the things that I like about what's going on in Husker football, especially in the transfer portal, what they've been able to do, this is now going to be a full opportunity for Rule to be able to accumulate and bring in what it is that he's trying to accomplish. Now he's got everything set as far as his coaching staff is concerned, the style that they want to play. He's landed the quarterback that he wanted, and now is the opportunity to expand out on that. What do you see in what they got in commitments that speaks loud and proud to the fact that Coach Rule is operating on what he said he's going to do?
First of all, Cliff says it's cloudy and cold rain down in Florida. So, okay, at least we have some pretty snow going on. Sorry, Cliff, I didn't mean to jump to assumptions there about Florida. But in terms of the vision for Coach Rule and these two players, Strick, I think they both fit. I'll start with running back Dante Dowdle. Dowdell, I've heard it both ways, but 6'2", 215, 220 type of guy. He's fast enough to get the job done, but the power, right? If Matt Rule wants to, dig into that fourth quarter ethos, lean into the Big Ten, kind of mindset of we're going to grind you down, like you talk about Michigan, right? Set you up in the first quarter, start punching you in the second, come the third and fourth quarters, we're going to run you over. I think Dowdle really fits that. You have a veteran offensive line coming back, an exciting group for the 25 and 26 seasons as well. But you add a guy who is a pretty highly touted 4-star out of the state of Mississippi. Didn't have Nebraska on his radar at the start of the process, but Nebraska reached out to him. He came on his visit. Dylan Raiola was a big piece of his recruitment, right? You saw that picture with Dowdle jumping over Raiola with the boombox and everything. Between that, you have the Kalen picture with Holland McMorris. There have been some elite recruiting photos coming out of Memorial Stadium this year, but a big, powerful back that runs guys over, that's decisive, right, Strick? I think that's a key. So many times, I think the offensive line has been put in a bad spot because there will be a gap. There will be an opening to exploit for the running back, but they're looking the other way. They don't see it. They're reading the wrong cues. And it's hard to keep an opening like that, open.
Yeah, for long periods of time. Yeah, they close. Lines are good. And we've talked about that in the past. What style of running back, Austin, would we hope to find? And I've always said I want a one-cut guy. I want a guy that has one cut, sees a hole, gets in it, big body, gets you 4 or 5 yards a pop. That's the kind of cut guy I want. I don't want bounce guys. I don't need speed guys. I want guys that sees holes, hit holes, and gets deep into them. Pause. Go ahead.
Big pause. But I do think that's what Dowdle fits, is he'll make that one cut. He's played at Oregon. That's a team that we know about Bo Nix's ability to throw the ball. Got buried behind a couple good running backs, but a decisive run scheme. A coach in Dan Lanning that wouldn't let his team get away with being soft. So he knows what it takes physically, comes from a program of that caliber. So I think he can be the workhorse. I really do. Is the job guaranteed to be his? Absolutely not, right? I mean, Emmett Johnson definitely deserves a look. The staff really likes Quentin Ives as more of that home run kind of big play threat, his ability there. And then you have 2 older guys dealing with, nagging injuries, and Gabe Ervin and Ramir Johnson. We'll see if they're able to give anything. But the biggest part of the Dowdle commitment to me, Strick, is that Nebraska essentially had to get a running back in the 2024 class, right? They miss out on Kawan Lacey. We heard all about that from Brian Munson, how Nebraska missed out on him. He goes to Missouri. There's not another running back in the class, and you're dealing with injured upperclassmen or unproven underclassmen. Now, Dowdle's got plenty to prove at the college level as well, but you look at his pedigree, you think he can be something special. Nebraska needed to get a running back. This guy was sought after. I mean, he was talking to Mississippi State back home, heard from, I think, Oklahoma and Ohio State, other schools like that, but decided on Nebraska. That speaks volumes to me of Matt Rule and his coaching staff's ability to close, right? To target a need and to not let a guy leave Lincoln without, getting that commitment at a position that I think a lot of people would say they had a hole to fill.
I think he's hungry too. And that's what I'll end on. I think he's hungry because I think he got up there to Oregon, got a taste of everything. Oregon is very glitz, glamour, and, show, you know what I'm saying? Style. But I think he's hungry. And I think getting back here, understanding the need that Nebraska has, especially at the position, I think we're going to see somebody that's going to go after it with a lot of fire and a lot of passion to attack the position. Moving on, because we also talked. Oh, go ahead. You got something to add on to that?
I was just going to throw out the receiver then.
That's what I was going to go to next. Yeah.
So
the way I was going to approach it, let me just caveat it to you, because one of the things that I've talked about with you on is that we have a lot of positions at the wide receiver positions that are solid. They're good. Good players, good young prospects, speed all across the board, but just no one really that's able to, and I've talked about it, but we don't have an Ordunze. We don't have a Worthy. We don't have a Marvin Harrison Jr., a guy that's a signified number one. And I'm hoping that we were able to land something with some experience, a guy with experience, a guy who you can look to hopefully fill that void and allow these other guys to not feel that they have to step up to that position. What did we land at the wide receiver position that hopefully could be that person?
Yeah, his name is Isaiah Nayor. He's a Texas transfer, but started his career at Wyoming. It's a really exciting ad, Strick. You look at the size, first of all, 6'3", 210 pounds. I like that, right? I mean, I know Malachi Coleman's a big body, but Nayor has a more college-ready body, I think, than Jaden Doss did coming in. He's bigger than a guy like Jalen Lloyd. I think you have some versatility, right? He can play outside. That's, I think, where he'll be for the most part. But he's not just a deep guy, right? I think that was, if not the knock on Trey Palmer, right? That's how Nebraska used him, was Trey go deep. Trey maybe make an in cut at some point. That was really it. I think there's some more well-roundedness in Nayor's game. I don't think he's quite as fast as Trey Palmer, but he's a certified big play, Strick. For his career, he's averaging 21.5 yards per catch. And that's not on like 3 or 4 catches. That's on 50 career catches, right? So this guy is a walking or running big play. He can do it with the deep ball, but he's also got some of that yard after catch ability, right? And this is where, the close range throws are for backup quarterbacks. The deep throws are for the big armed guys. The hope with Dylan Raiola is that Nebraska can attack kind of that intermediate part of the field, right? That 10 to 17.
With accuracy.
Yep. Attack that range with accuracy. And that means put the ball on his chest, or if there's room for him to run, put it out in front of him a little bit. Let him go get it and take off after the catch. Nayor showed some of that ability as well was not just, go get the deep ball, but to make guys miss with the ball in his hand. So I think that kind of versatility is a big get for Nebraska. I think he's going to be the truest number one type of guy they have on the roster right now. But there's the risk, right? Kind of like Trey Palmer, he was buried on the depth chart at Texas. We'll have to see if he makes that jump back into consistent playing time. And he was also hurt. I mean, an ACL injury is easier to come back from now, but it seemed like he was still maybe dealing with some of those lingering effects down at Texas. So get him in the strength and conditioning program, get him hooked up with Dylan Raiola really quick, get that chemistry going. It's a risk, but it's one that Nebraska had to take, right? And they landed a guy that might have faded from some people's radars, but there's still a good player somewhere in Isaiah Nair, and you hope that a guy like Dylan Raiola can bring the best out of him.
Yeah, and you're hoping again that hunger, just that looming hunger, is just deep down in his soul that allows him to raise up the quality of his play. Staying in the football realm, Austin, let's move over and talk about what Coach Rule is doing in the coaching as well as the coordinator side of things with a coach potentially that you really like. Tell me a little bit about him, what you think.
So his performance as a head coach was up and down, not the best. But Dana Holgorsen is a guy that Nebraska has interest in. It's rumored that there have been conversations between Nebraska and Dana Holgorsen for a role on staff. And that could look like a lot of things, Strick. I think a lot of people's minds would first go to quarterbacks coach, right? Marcus Satterfield wasn't initially supposed to coach the quarterbacks at Nebraska. They reached out to Jake Peetz was his name. He turns them down, so they slide Marcus Satterfield into the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach role. They hire Bob Wager to be the tight ends coach, but he had to leave the staff, resigned. So then Josh Martin, the analyst, stepped into that tight ends role. My guess is Dana Holgorsen would end up being the quarterbacks coach and probably take over offensive coordinator responsibilities for Nebraska if he decides to come. I think that would reassign Marcus Satterfield back to the tight ends. But it's interesting, Strick, because Holgorsen isn't just a quarterbacks guy. He was a receiver himself in his playing days. He coached wide receivers for most of the first half of his career and coached some really good ones. It's a guy that's been not necessarily all over the place, but well-traveled enough. He studied under Hal Mumme, architect of the air raid offense at Iowa Wesleyan. He was on staff with Mike Leach there, and Mike Leach hired him back at Texas Tech. Dana Holgorsen then was on staff with Texas Tech as the wide receivers coach from 2000 to 2007. And in the last handful of years, he was the co-offensive coordinator. You might remember that 2007 Texas Tech team, the one that beat Texas, Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree, right? Those are two names that stand out from that stop. He moves on then to Houston, where he's the offensive coordinator and the quarterbacks coach. The only guy that you need to know he coached at Houston, Case Keenum, record-breaking college quarterback. So I think that's a good sign. He moves on to Oklahoma State, where he works with Mike Gundy. He goes to West Virginia to be a head coach for 7-8 years, and then had 4 or 5 years down at Houston as the head coach. But obviously he's on the market now with the Cougars hiring Willie Fritz. But Strick, this is a guy that's studied a lot of interesting pass game principles I don't think Nebraska has seen or implemented before.
I bet. Right.
Might be the highest level quarterbacks coach Nebraska has had in some time, if that's the role they choose to use him in. And he's a Midwest guy, right? Most of his coaching has been done in Texas, where we know Nebraska and their head coach have a lot of ties. But he's from Davenport, Iowa, right? He's a Midwest guy at his core. So just because he's been all gung-ho about the air raid, I don't think Dana Holgorsen, as offensive coordinator, would see Dante Dowdle and say, no, I don't want to give that guy the ball. I don't think he would see Emmett Johnson and say that guy doesn't deserve touches. I think he could maximize Nebraska's receivers. A lot of what Dana Holgorsen did at other places was built on a similar amount of speed at the receiver position to what Nebraska has now. But I think Dana Holgorsen's creativity, the previous stops that he's made, would be a fascinating fit with the highest rated quarterback recruit in the recruiting industry rankings history that Nebraska brought in with Dylan Raiola.
Man, I think the timing is absolutely perfect. It is something that I expressly thought that they needed, no question, no doubt. And with having two young quarterbacks in Kalen as well as as Raiola. What better time than to add someone who has the pedigree that he has in at the quarterback position of training great quarterbacks of the age. Let's move on and talk about the polar bear. The polar bear, Nash Hutmacher, gets on the mat and did not disappoint. Half of the doggone Husker football team out there in support. Our own Derek Pearson in the building, right there, front and center. Nash Hutmacher in the first period did not disappoint. What's your thoughts about the polar bear getting it done on the mat?
Just an incredible testament to the human spirit, really. I mean, I don't want to get all, soapy and romantic about it, but for Nash Hutmacher to cut 45 pounds in basically a month is incredible. And he said afterwards that he's probably not going to play at 330 again, right? That getting back into wrestling has, shown him he can probably get by playing closer to 300, 305 rather than all the way up at 330. I mean, he wreaked havoc on the defensive line for the first time in his Nebraska career. So adding those 45 pounds back might be a bit too much stress on his body. He was good at it, but if he can be, just as strong, just as explosive, but even maybe, a step quicker, able to knife between blocks a little bit better, but maintain that same strength that he showed, I think that's huge. That's a big credit to Mark Manning for having a vision, a huge credit to Matt Rule, Tony White, Terrence Knighton, and that staff for being okay with it, right? I don't know if other staffs would have been quite as receptive to this idea. And then credit to Nash Hutmacher for not just, saying, oh yeah, it'd be fun and, one cheeking it. He dove all in to lose all that weight, to try to get back in that shape, to take the mat, and then not just take the mat and be a cool story, and not just to win, but to pin the guy. His first wrestling match in 4 years. Nash Hutmacher pins the guy. So it's like 167 straight wins now, 74 of them by pin. What an incredible, accomplishment. What an incredible story. Huge props to everyone involved in getting Nash Hutmacher back on the wrestling mat.
Hey, listen, I've wrestled, and I'll tell you what, it works on your cardio, your agility, your shiftiness, your upper body strength, lower body. It works different muscles, and it's not football strength that makes you good at it, but it's the other things that it trains that can make you good in football. That's what I love about what they're doing with him going into the wrestling forum. It's going to make him tremendously ready for spring, but it's not gonna put a lot of tension on other areas of his body to cause him to have worry when he goes back into football. So I like that about it. And last but not least, Allie Batenhorst, she goes bye-bye.
She does. Enters the portal. I don't steal too much of Rico's thunder, but just throw that in there for people that might have missed it before. She's been at Nebraska for 3 years. I don't say an up and down career when she's played. She's been a pretty steady contributor, maybe never, reached the heights of some other, hitters in Nebraska history. But Strick, you look at what Nebraska already has. They get the commitment from Taylor Landfair, the Minnesota transfer, to be a hitter. You have Skylar Pierce coming in, who is the MVP of her high school all-star game. Someone was going to have to transfer out, right? We've seen Juravicius leave, Mendelson leave, and now Batenhorst at the hitter position. Sounds like Nebraska has an open scholarship. Good for Allie Batenhorst, right? She left a bit of a mark on Nebraska volleyball. Good player. Someone's going to be absolutely, lucky to have her. But
just don't go to Texas.
No, please no. She's from Houston. She has family up in Omaha, Rico says. So if she ends up at Texas too, we're going to have a problem. Nebraska and Texas might actually go to war against each other.
Oh, man. Golly. Oh, well, shout out. Great stuff on Nebraska sports. If you have any thoughts that you would like to share with us concerning anything that we talked about in this last segment, 402-464-5685 is where you can find us. But coming up next, we've been waiting. Brian Munson will be joining us, and we're going to talk more about a lot of what we just talked about here about Nebraska, the recruiting, what's going on, what are some things that we can expect out there. We'll come right back on 93.7, theticketfm.com. We'll be right back on the block right after this.
Ironhide Construction is hiring. They're looking for hardworking, self-motivated individuals who are team players. Ironhide Construction has openings for an experienced project manager, estimator, apprentice, skilled laborer, and erector or installer. They will train the right people and make sure you understand the position and requirements. At Ironhide Construction, it's own it, be honest, and do it right. Apply today and learn more about their other benefits at ironhideconstruction.com, where they're committed to you every step of the way.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
A team succeeds when they work together. Banking's no different. At UBT, we're in your corner for every financial move you want to make. Your money's backed by a roster of experts who put in the work to know you and your community. So whether you're opening a savings account, buying a home, or planning your future, you always know who to turn to. Working together toward your financial goals. That's a win in our playbook. Union Bank and Trust. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you already know the right answer, isn't it?
You know it is. Ben Bleicher and Professional Realty Group.
Contact Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Ambassador. Online at prg-ne.com.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a pre-owned combine from Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Are you looking for a new spot to relax and unwind? The Post, located on the south side of the Telegraph District on the corner of 20th and N Street, is perfect for a group hangout or a relaxing evening. The Post has plenty of exciting events open to the public, like Whiskey Wednesday and poker tournaments on Sundays. Looking for a spot for a private event? Ask them about their indoor patio. The Post, located at 20th and N Street in Lincoln.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
He can maybe run. So like speed option, those things. All you want to do.
Speed. I can't see much.
It's also. Oh, it's you. Oh, look what you did. Look what you did. Look at Bill.
Down.
Come on
Just
now.
calm down.
I don't say anything about semicolons or should there be
Word
parentheses or
Too many commas over there.
Too many
Zip. Come on.
run-on sentences. Don't talk about that. It's not my wheelhouse.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning. Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. We're back here on the block. I'm Austin Norman. Erick Strickland will be back momentarily. Trivia question for you for $15 to the Upside Bar and Lounge. Some breaking news courtesy of Keith Mann. Frank Solich being named to the College Football Hall of Fame. So again, $15 to the Upside Bar and Lounge. For texter number, let's do number 9, right? I think that's a good number. Texter number 9 with the correct answer to this question. How many combined players and coaches, including Frank Solich, does Nebraska claim in the College Football Hall of Fame? Again, how many Huskers, that includes coaches and players, are now in the College Football Hall of Fame with Frank Solich's induction? Texter number 9 gets the $15 to Upside Bar and Lounge. But we go to our VIP line, brought to you by Aloe Fiber, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. We welcome in Brian Munson. We just talked to him on Thursday regarding the All-America Bowl down in San Antonio. Nebraska had 3 players playing in that game. Brian, long time no chat. When you look at that game down in San Antonio, let's start on the offensive line with Bricks and Pyle playing for Nebraska. What do you make? What have you been hearing about how those two guys performed?
Yep. First of all, Happy New Year.
Indeed.
I think that everything was very positive about those two guys. So let's start with Pyle, the highest rated of the two. It was a much different type of game and setting to anything he'd ever played in before. He's usually been hat on a hat, kind of just straight dry blocking, road grading people, and never any type of, zone blocking or moving laterally. He's always just been able to leverage, his physicality and getting people off of the line of scrimmage. Pyle, on the other hand, is a little bit more technically, ready to kind of play the college game based on the offensive system that he ran down there in Houston. He's also a guy that's swung in from playing tackle up to this year, moved into guard, so he's got into a tighter, he's in a little bit more of a phone booth now, working interior offensive line versus being out there on that island against those faster guys. He's against bigger, slower, but stronger guys, in the phone booth. And I think he's really actually excelled when it comes to that. One of the things that, people said very quickly about Pyle was that, the rankings weren't really reflective of his ability. Number one, he was a little bit underrated. Number two, kind of was considered to be the best puller, like on the West squad. So a guy that technically had learned and knew how to do it. But then Bricks, he'll tell you, like, I've never had to move laterally. And then you would sit there and say, well, how are you able to kind of so gracefully do that and cover that up? And I think he was assimilating, all the information and having to apply it almost like real time. And I think that, by being so agile and so athletic, it kind of covered up this, what it could have been like a really cumbersome process for somebody that wasn't as athletic as what Bricks might have been, and that could have gone down there and said, I have no idea how to do this, and got frustrated with it. That was not Bricks' style. Bricks was just plugging through it, and he was doing all that stuff kind of real time. So lots of really good compliments about those two all the way around this week. And obviously, as indicative of the game on Saturday, they really like to run behind those guys. So when, they had that long kind of road grading drive that I think went right to left, those guys were in the entire drive, and they ran right over the top of them.
Did I see both guys playing interior? Do you think that would be playing at Nebraska, or those, tackle guys, or could they be, swing guard tackles?
In talking to Pyle is, I think, getting way more chatter from Coach Raiola and the Nebraska staff about playing inside. They're also mentioning to him that, if he could learn how to, or demonstrate that he can snap, that would be beneficial to him, that he could play center and guard. And then I think for Bricks, it's going to be mainly like, look, they have a lot of high hope for him. And I think that they want to, they know that he's going to be able to soak it up. They think that physically, he's going to be very, very ready to kind of come in and be productive. It's going to be really a matter of like, what position can you get him on the field the soonest? Because I think that's going to matter, So I think with Pyle, I think people are going to underestimate how ready he is. And I think with Bricks, it's really one of those things where when the opportunity presents itself, he just needs to be ready to kind of walk through the door, and whether it's guard or tackle, just be ready to play.
And that attitude you mentioned from down at the All-America Bowl seems like it'll serve him well in the college ranks. Similar thing for Carter Nelson, right? A guy playing 8-man football up in Ainsworth. Is, I don't say first taste, but his first major taste of big boy football, playing against a lot of the best players on the East squad there. Carter Nelson had that nice catch and run. How do you assess his performance down in San Antonio?
I don't think in a world of geese, he was kind of a duck, right? Where they got him down there and he got put into this bucket of being tight end. And in reality, he's not a tight end at all. He had never been asked to block, before going down to San Antonio. So everything that he did blocking wise in his life, in his high school career, he learned how to do in San Antonio. And he was, again, kind of Bricks-esque. He was able to kind of pick that stuff up, got some really good coaching and some really good direction on how to kind of do all that stuff, and was able to apply it very, very quickly. But he was a guy that, when they were going one-on-ones and doing a little bit of skelly, he wasn't getting any reps because they didn't know like how athletic of a dude, he really was. And I think, both Carter and Betancourt, who is the Clemson commitment from Illinois, the two tight ends on the west side, I think that they could have been featured a little bit differently in the offense, and probably would have really given them some serious advantages. I just don't think that they really knew kind of what they were dealing with. So I think that, and look, Carter smiled it off. He's got that opinion, like the experience was bigger than, him becoming MVP. It wasn't anything like that. His expectations were he was going in eyes wide open. He wanted to meet some people. He wanted to have an incredible process, and he wanted to learn some things. He wanted to kind of get his teeth cut, a little bit, before he heads to Lincoln in June, to kind of get things going. So I just don't feel like that there was an offense put in place really to kind of feature any of the tight ends on the West squad. But when he did get a chance to shine, both on Saturday and in the practice that I saw him on Wednesday morning, he was the only guy on Wednesday morning that even caught a pass, and it was for a touchdown. So he did the best with the small moments, the small amount of moments that he had.
Which is all you can ask. We're talking with Brian Munson of Husker Online here on our Allo VIP line. A guy that didn't play in the game, but was at the Combine down at the All-American Bowl. You wrote about Brian for Husker Online. Connor Booth out of Wahoo Bishop Newman. What do you make of Connor Booth's performance at the Combine, not in the game? Is he a guy that you think could carve out a role for Nebraska, or is he just an in-state guy that's one of the best guys in state, so they felt like they should take him?
No, I think his performance on Friday was eye-opening on a national level. He didn't run a 40. He's been dealing with a little bit of a hip quad kind of injury. He was encouraged not to run by the coaches that were there at San Antonio. He did all the other drills. He did standing broad. He did vertical jump. He did all the ball drills, all those things. And from all accounts, he compared very, very, very well. In fact, I met a high school coach who helps out with the National Combine on Wednesday, and he wrote me specifically about Connor on Saturday and said the kid really stood out. So I think Connor is one of those great hidden gems that Nebraska, has tucked away in Wahoo, Nebraska, number one. I think that he's never going to get the recognition on a national scale because of where he's at geographically. I think he's going to be a terrific college player, both in baseball and in football. I think he just kind of get that gritty kind of thing talking to him, that he's just, he understands what this opportunity is worth. So I think that he's excited for the challenge. But I think that on a national scale, that he had a chance really to kind of open some folks' eyes that had doubted him about playing the running back position, that had doubted that he was capable of being a guy that could stand up nationally to other players from other, more populated areas. He did a great job on all accounts.
He committed to Nebraska as a running back in next year's class. You think he's a running back? He thinks he's a running back. The staff thinks he's a running back for the Cornhuskers?
I absolutely do. I mean, this is a guy that's averaging over 10 yards a carry. He had a monster junior year after a good sophomore season that really saw him play, primarily as a fullback. He moved back to feature back finally as a junior when the offense changed. I'm really excited to see what he can do his senior year. He ran, in the 4.5s last summer for Nebraska, which kind of got him the offer. He's a 6'2", 250-poundish, running back that's got a capability, here to put on a few more pounds, but having known his father and I know kind of like what his structure is, and that's about what you can kind of expect, about 220 pounds or so. But I think athletically, I just don't think people really understand, how athletically gifted, Connor is. So I think that's the part there that's really going to catch people's attention when they go out there and they watch him play his senior year, or go watch him play baseball this summer, or get a chance, here in the future to see him, carrying the rock for Nebraska. I think that there's a lot of things to really look forward to him as a running back.
He's got one more season of high school to go, but Nebraska does bring in a running back commit, not a true 2024 commit, but a transfer portal guy in Dante Dowdle. And they also bring in Isaiah Nayor, a Texas high school product, went to Wyoming, then back to Texas for a couple years. What do you make of those two portal ads and what they say about this Nebraska offense in 2024, Brian?
Critical. I mean, Dowdle is needed to backfill the hole that was created by Kewan Lacey jumping out of the class. The room, and it's just my view of it, I still think it's a pretty thin room. I mean, it really could have still used a 2024 guy and a portal guy when you return basically your top two guys, from season-ending injuries. And you get Ives and you have Emmett Johnson there. And then people, I think, are kind of overlooking Emmett Johnson, but he had a great impact this last season. It'll be interesting to see what he does kind of taking a step forward. And Nayor is super interesting because of what he did at Wyoming prior to going to Austin, and then, putting the knee injury behind him and not having basically a role, that was too prominent down there in Austin, getting lost in the Sarkeesian, becoming the head coach, and COVID and all that other stuff that kind of goes along with it. I think Nebraska found themselves, with a really good number one option finally in the room, a young receiver room that can help the rest of those guys kind of, take another step and really kind of come of age. And he's going to have a great chance to lead a very talented room.
I want to ask you about this too, Brian. It's entirely speculative at this point, but the rumors have been coming out of the coaches convention that Matt Rule was speaking at, that Nebraska's in some talks with Dana Holgorsen for a potential role on staff. If that comes to pass, I would assume he would be the quarterback's coach and take over as offensive coordinator. What do you think Nebraska's looking for in, talking to Dana Holgorsen? If he does come to Nebraska, what would he bring?
I think he would be a splash hire. I mean, if Matt Rule and Nebraska are committed to bringing in a proven quarterbacks coach, to bringing in, somebody that's going to give them some different looks and play calling, and Holgorsen and what he's done, his offensive mind and the quarterbacks, of course, that he has worked with, the guys that he has helped, mentor and coach. I think that Nebraska fans should be really excited about that. I think the other side of it is too, and people aren't really talking about this, but he's a heck of a recruiter. And I think what he had kind of set up at Houston is in the NIL area in particular is very, very interesting, because he was getting players away from P5 programs to go to U of H, because the NIL system, the NIL program that was in place was some of the best that they had in the nation. So he was able to kind of get this program that's there, under the radar a little bit, non-P5, in a competitive situation with the P5 schools. So I think that has a lot of interesting potential, particularly when it comes to being quarterback and and the competitive advantages of bringing another recruiter in on the staff with Texas ties to boot. Definitely has a lot of interesting things to go along with it.
Again, it's just speculative at this point, but obviously the Texas connections stand out, right? I mean, you look at his time at Texas Tech, you look at Graham Harrell, Michael Crabtree at Tech, you look at his work with Kevin Sumlin, you look at what he did at U of H, like you're saying. But going under the radar, Brian, is his connections to Iowa, right? He's a Davenport, Iowa guy who cut his teeth under Hal Mumme and Mike Leach, right? So I think we think air raid when we think Dana Holgorsen, we think Hal Mumme, but Dana Holgerson's still a Midwestern guy, and I have a hard time imagining that he'd look at Dante Dowdle and Emmett Johnson and say, those guys don't need the ball.
Well, I think the Midwest stuff is the Midwest, coming from the Midwest and being from that area are critical. I think it's one of those things that Nebraska is always going to be very, very interested in keeping all of the guys in the region home. And if you get a guy like Holgorsen to come to Lincoln, you can put him in a room and you can put him into a high school that are in the neighboring states, and he is recognizable the minute that his feet, walk through the door. So I think that there's just so many things from, what he sees in guys offensively and what they can do for you on the football field to, the recognizability of his own personal brand and just knowing who he is and what he could do. And then putting him on, a team like Nebraska in the Midwest that's really, trying to get to that next step, and bringing in a guy like Raiola, and they're really pushing hard now on trying to put year 3 class together and really, just kind of fill in the last kind of holes in the roster. So it's definitely it's a really fascinating story.
And then last but not least, Brian, your Bills, they did it not just in the playoffs, they're AFC East champs. Their reward a date with Pittsburgh. How are you feeling about the 2-7 matchup and the Bills' chances in these NFL playoffs?
We did everything we could to give it away last night.
But you
Josh really came around in the fourth quarter, and I thought that one play where it was 4th down and he had 5 yards to go and he ends up getting the first down to kind of seal the deal really was terrific. But I love the matchup, in Buffalo against Pittsburgh a whole heck of a lot better than going back to Miami trying to beat those guys for a third time. Who knows what you get next week? Is Mostert back? Is Waddle back? So they were definitely down a guy or two last night. It was very, very clear. So I'd rather play twice in Buffalo than have to go beat Miami back in Miami again next week. So huge win for Buffalo. I actually like the way the seeding kind of breaks down a little bit for them. So yeah, getting those first 2 games at home are very, very helpful. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Brian, twice in 5 days. We appreciate you making time for us. It's always a treat. Have a good rest of your week, my friend.
All right. Be good.
Again, no promises on being good, but that's Brian Munson with us here on our Allo VIP line, brought to you by Allo Fiber, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart. We'll step aside. We'll cross it over with Old School, bring Stricky back, wrap up on the block here in just a sec.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
If you're not going to Memorial Stadium for a home game and don't have any travel plans for away games, there's a great place in Omaha to catch the action, the Inner Rail Food Hall. There's plenty of space. The Backstretch Bar has amazing game specials on game days. $15 Blue Moon and Bud Light pitchers, $6 margaritas, and $6 Moscow Mules. And if you're hungry, take in some of their great options from their game day pizza specials. Do football game day right in the Inner Rail Food Hall in Exarban Village in Omaha.
We wait all pro football season for the big game. But will you come out on top? Warhorse Festival of Games is putting you at the center of the action with 2 chances to win big. Earn entries for our $100,000 prop card challenge daily at Warhorse Casino Lincoln. Enjoy slots, sports wagering, and horse racing. Then make your picks about the big game to be eligible to win. Qualifying entries will also be put in the running for your share of the $20,000 grand prize drawing. Increase your luck for the drawing by playing free online games on the Festival of Games website. Skip the trip to Vegas and get in on the big game right here at Lincoln's favorite place to play. And if that's not enough, our $1 Million Bracket Challenge for college basketball is coming soon. Full details are online at warhorsecasino.com. Warhorse Casino Lincoln, just minutes from downtown at Highway 77 and West Denton Road. Why not today? Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Not many businesses can say they've made it 60 years, but Madsen's Bowling and Billiards can. With 12 bowling lanes and the biggest pool room in Nebraska, where else would you go to enjoy an afternoon or evening? There's a great daily specials like $2 Tuesdays, games of bowling, shoe rentals, draft beers, and tacos, all just $2 each. Have a delicious burger at EJ's Lounge before or after your bowling or pool session, and you'll leave satisfied. Madsen's Bowling and Billiards at 47th and Dudley.
At Southeast Community College, community is our middle name. Our continuing education classes offer personal interest, traffic safety and licensing, online learning, and adult education classes across Southeast Nebraska, or online in your own home. Learn to ride a motorcycle, how to start a small business, how to dance, or take a course to advance in your current career path. See the full schedule of continuing education classes online at southeast.edu/continuing. SCC, your path to possible.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you already know the right answer, isn't it?
You know it is. Ben Bleicher and Professional Realty Group.
Contact Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Ambassador. Online at prg-ne.com.
Are you looking for a new spot to relax and unwind? The Post, located on the south side of the Telegraph District on the corner of 20th and N Street, is perfect for a group hangout or a relaxing evening. The Post has plenty of exciting events open to the public, like Whiskey Wednesday and poker tournaments on Sundays. Looking for a spot for a private event? Ask them about their indoor patio. The Post, located at 20th and N Street in Lincoln.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a pre-owned combine from Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back one final time here during On the Block. Big thanks to Brian Munson of Husker Online for joining us on our VIP line, brought to you by Aloe Fiber. And you can see Jay and I, if you're on our Starter Human stream, rocking new stocking hats. Stricky, you had to be here. We had Kendall Warnock.
Yeah, Strick, we had to get it. We had to hold
by.
you down. What color you want, Strick? Red, white, or black?
For what?
Yeah, we got beanies on, courtesy of
The
Kendall
beanies?
Warnock. Yeah.
Oh wow. Man, I got both. Give me a black one.
Black one? Okay.
Yeah.
You and Jay
I'm trying to match my boy Jay Foreman because of the
is.
smile
That's all
that
good.
Jay Foreman had on his face on his Twitter, after the Bills then did this to these guys.
Yeah. We was no fin. Hey, listen, you've been here, Strick, and how much Jake has been talking about fins up and writing on the board. The Bills aren't going to make the playoffs. They're done. Josh Allen is garbage. The first half I was a little nervous, but you got hold tight. And then, you know what I'm saying? Nature took over, nature versus nurture, and nature always wins.
There it is. Hey, man, I'm just glad you was excited. But did you see your boy, the polar bear, get busy?
Hey, I like the little kid, the little sweep the leg little kid.
Yeah, like lift him up.
Yeah.
Bust the calves on him a little bit. That's that old South School style. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks
We
good.
used to call
man.
that back in the day, Jay, when I was young, and I used to when I was young, Jay, my grandmother had this house, and it was like a 3-bedroom. It was a real nice, this little house, probably on a little acre and a half. We had peach trees, pecan trees, and it was just a little quaint little house. Across the street was a little church. But when you jump the fence on the south side, projects. So all the project kids looking at me like, oh, who he think he is? I had to be like Harpo, Jay. Yeah. All my life I had to fight. We used to call that bust the calves. Back in the day, Jay, you kind of tussle up a little bit, and then you sweep
right
your
on
feet,
that
bust it, right,
yeah.
bust calf.
Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station ID here on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
I do have to eat some crow, too. I was selling a lot of Wolf tickets. You were saying, Jay. And I'm repping him again today. I got my Colts gear on. I'm going to be a man about it, right? The last time this season, I get to rep the Colts stuff.
The one thing
I'm sick to my stomach that they trusted an Iowa Hawkeye with the game on the line. I blame Kirk.
Can't believe it.
I blame Brian.
Man, the thing is, you want to give yourself a chance to win, and you always want to go and I wouldn't even call it error on the side of caution, because Jonathan Taylor was just destroying Houston Texans defense, and Houston Texans were a top 5 run defense, and he was just on. And he's a problem. And that offensive line is good when healthy. And they just went. I was, worried that they were going to be able just to run the whole second half. And I'll give Gibson a little bit of leeway. Yes, or on both sides. One, he cut the route off too early. You know what I mean? So he made it very narrow. But then also, it meant the pass wasn't very good.
No.
You want to lead him on that, but you need to bow it a little bit, not maybe like a normal flare route, but it's got an in between. He kind of almost ran like he was running like a tight wheel route. He was too excited to get it. He would have been better off just tossing it to him, and he would have got it. It's unfortunate for him, but there was plenty of losing plays, and the reason why they were in that position.
First play of Houston's game, they throw the 75-yard bomb, and the Colts got pressure all night.
Yeah,
not enough sacks in the second half.
They got healthy, and they got a pretty good defensive line when healthy. With Buckner and all those guys, and so Houston just was able to beat them in Indianapolis that had Houston's number. And Strick, I want to ask you this, man. In the NBA, what does it take for a team to overcome, like, say, like you say you played in a series, say you were playing for Boston, and say just the Knicks had your guys' number, and say you guys played 6 times and they're 5-1 or 4-2 against you. And what's it take when you get into a series, right, to overcome that and win the game that you need to win to, say, move on in the playoffs or get a higher seed potentially going into the playoffs because you hadn't had a lot of success in the regular season?
So you got to look at the areas of your deficiencies, right? What are the areas of their strengths? What are your weaknesses against this team in the series? Then you look at matchups, and then you've got to figure out what can we do to make the worst of their guys have to beat you, and don't let the ones beat you that perform to their strength. Whether that's double team, whether that's blitz and take the ball out of their hands, whether it's denial, you've got to figure out what it is about that team and what they do and do well, or what their matchup is against you that causes you some issue that you have to try to figure out how to defend or kill or nullify. And you have to do it enough in that game in order to give yourself a chance at your strengths.
Right.
And when they do make adjustments, and you've got to step up in some form or fashion, somebody off the bench, your 6th man, or somebody's got to step up. That's the only way you can win those types of decisions. Sometimes teams are just too good. Like sometimes just the matchup itself is just too good. Like Denver has that against people, where sometimes it's just they have no answer for Jokic, or they, Jamal Murray and that combination. That 1-2 combination, right. It was very similar to what it was like with John Stockton and Malone. There was just, you knew what they were going to do. They were going to continue to do it. And until you stopped it, they were going to continue to come at you.
Yeah, that's interesting just because of Indianapolis had Buffalo's number, or not Buffalo, but Houston's number. I think 5-1-1 the last 7 games. Both of the franchises are we're treading water lightly. Both, multiple quarterbacks and coaches, obviously with Houston, 3 in 3 years. And so I just always wonder I just wanted your opinion from a basketball perspective, because it's the same thing. It's like you got to look at, in basketball or football versus basketball strict, you look at, okay, did we give up 6 explosive plays? And, what's the average explosive plays? What's the coverage? What's the defense, the personnel? Did we, was it a 4-minute spurt on why we got beat? You can get it, lose, I remember one instance we lost to Kansas City and it was 4 minutes, and that was, bad, complimentary football, bad punt, wrong direction, Dante Hall, house call, 3 and out, big explosive plays. You think you're, up by 7. Next thing you know, you go into halftime down by 14, totally deflated, demoralized. And then you lose again. But then we played them next year at Kansas City, when they were thought to be Super Bowl contenders, and we really hammered in on what we needed to do and where we wanted the ball and how we were going to attack them. And we hit a couple big plays and stopped them early. Next thing you know, we had an upset victory.
Right, like 40 minutes, 48 minutes, 60 minutes is a long time. 7 games is a long series, but you got to make those adjustments quick. And sometimes you don't get those second chances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially, Strick, you can comment on this when it's winner take all. You know what I mean? When it's not a regular season game where, say you have 4 games left, and if you lose a crucial game and you go 4-0, and the team that you lost to might have to, go a West Coast trip with back-to-back. They're eventually going to lose one. You can gain one back. All that type of stuff. When you're the win or get in, kind of like how Houston and Indy is, that means those adjustments have to be literally series to series, and sometimes it has to be during a series, play to play, because every play, every call is crucial, because it's just going to be that much more of an intensive of a game.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, win or go home type situations, they're some of the hardest that you have to deal with, because it's so much pressure, and then it depends on where you're playing the game. I think win or go home games are tougher at home, to be honest.
Right.
I think there's more pressure on it.
Yeah, you got a lot of distractions, stuff like that, and then you're expecting to win, and sometimes you can play off the crowd, but that also when it's a team that's comparable to you, they're going to come to play. So there's a difference, win or go home, and you're better than the team. Sometimes you've seen LeBron teams and the Golden State Warriors where, they kind of relax during the regular season. Remember Cleveland used to be the 2 or 3 seed. Everybody knew that they were going to end up winning, but
they weren't scared of Toronto.
Right. They weren't scared of Toronto, weren't scared of the Celtics. So they knew they would get there versus if you're, like some of them play-in games or like Indianapolis and Houston, Buffalo and the Dolphins and the Steelers, the day before against the Ravens, if they had their whole, package of players, those are the ones that are the toughest because there's no blinking. If you make one mistake, it could be the mistake that costs you to get, into the playoffs or extend your playoff run.
Yeah, I remember in high school, like when I was at Bellevue West, we were playing football, Jay, and I wasn't worried about what we were going to do on offense. I knew they were going to try to stop me and, whatnot. But on defense, we had prepared all that week for Calvin Jones. Like everything we did on the defensive side, stunts, linebacker blitzes, reads, all of that was for Calvin Jones. And Calvin Jones was hurt. And so, gosh darn it, the freaking backup, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, we good. We ain't got to worry about. And the freaking backup goes off for like almost $200, man. Like, God damn. So, yeah, man. So it sometimes can work against you when, just think about a team. Yeah, the team like that, would expect Lamar Jackson to be playing. And then next thing you know, he doesn't. But then the freaking backup may come in and do more work on you than the person that you expected to originally be there.
Yeah.
What's coming up on Old School?
We got a station announcement. I think DP's going to let DP handle that. But we're going to do a college football playoff championship game tonight, NFL playoff recap, and the portal weekend. We had some news coming out of Husker land, so give our thoughts on that. And if we can get any more, how much greater weekend it'd be. So we got a power pack 2 hours, hour and a half. So like always, we starting off this snowy Monday with a little bit of energy.
Amen to that. Stricky, stay warm, travel safe. We'll see you tomorrow, my friend.
Yep, mañana.
All right, Strick.
Indeed. Big thanks to A1 Automotive.
Yes,
Kendall
sir.
Warnock
Kendall.
for the beanies. There's that man doing his point again. Big thanks to Mary Ellens for sponsoring On the Block. Don't go anywhere. We got Old School DP and J here in just a second.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Are you in the market for a new garage door or need to repair your old one? It's wintertime, and that means snow, wind, and freezing temperatures. All things that can cause sticky locks and damage to your door. If you're experiencing any issues with your commercial or residential garage door during the winter months, call Cameron Hall and his team at Doors Plus. Don't be trapped outside in the cold because of a poorly maintained garage door. Call Doors Plus today at 402-590-5800 or visit them online at doorsplusllc.com. Doors Plus, garage doors and more.
Nutrition Authority presents Activator. University studies have shown that Activator helps with building muscle and strength while decreasing body fat. Activator is for male and females of all ages who want to look, feel, and perform their best. Activator can only be found in Nutrition Authority. Stop in, call, or visit us at mynutritionauthority.com.
At Southeast Community College, community is our middle name. Our continuing education classes offer personal interest, traffic safety and licensing, online learning, and adult education classes across Southeast Nebraska, or online in your own home. Learn to ride a motorcycle, how to start a small business, how to dance, or take a course to advance in your current career path. See the full schedule of continuing education classes online at southeast.edu/continuing. SCC, your path to possible.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring